reference to this preference in this book. In the part of his will that designated his intentions for the Gifford Lectures, Lord Gifford stipulated that the lectures are to treat the topic of natural theology in the widest sense of that term, and he expressed the desire that lectures treat their subject as a strictly natural science, the greatest of all possible sciences, without reference to or reliance upon any supposed special exceptional or so-called miraculous revelation. A few people who know this about the Gifford Lectures and who also knew that I was inclined to approach the hiddenness problem in the way that I just described, asked me how I would be presenting that kind of project as Gifford Lectures. Much has been written, mostly but not entirely, in the prefaces and introductions of the books people have produced in the wake of their own Gifford Lectures, about what one must do, or is permitted to do, in trying to fulfill the task set for a Gifford lecturer. Here, then, are my own thoughts about how the present project meshes with what is written in Lord Gifford's will. Despite his stated desire that lecturers treat their subject as a strictly natural science, neither philosophy nor theology are nowadays understood to be natural sciences. And as other Gifford lecturers, most notably Alistair MacIntyre, have pointed out, what Lord Gifford most likely envisioned in expressing this desire was, in any case, probably very different from what any contemporary reader of those words would envision. Be that as it may, philosophy as done in the so-called analytic style is nowadays often regarded as being at least methodologically continuous with the natural sciences, and the burgeoning field of analytic theology aims to treat its subject matter, the subject matter of theology, with precisely the same science-like theory-building ambitions and methods that characterize the best instances of analytic philosophy. Insofar as they represent the best that their discipline has to offer, analytic theologians are, in the first instance, sincere lovers of and earnest inquirers after truth about God, just as Lord Gifford hoped that his lecturers would be, and they aim to build or contribute to building robust explanatory theories about theological matters by way of methods that in many ways resemble those of the natural sciences, especially in their prioritization of precision, logical rigor, and theoretical virtues like simplicity, explanatory power, fit with relevant data, and the like. It is my hope, therefore, that insofar as my lectures in 2017 and the book you have before you now count as instances of analytic theology, they will accordingly be recognized as importantly fanciful to Lord Gifford's stipulations, even if our visions about what exactly it would be to treat theological matters scientifically are rather different from one another. Chapter 1. Hidden God. I was about 4 years old when I attended the first adult church service that I can remember. Until that time, the sanctuary of our church, the place that I knew from my parents to be God's house, had been shrouded in mystery. But on this day, the mystery would be revealed. On this day, so I expected, I would come into the presence of God. The author of the Epistle to the Hebrews reminds us that it is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. As a small child, I knew this by pure instinct. I was terrified of our church's sanctuary. I thought God himself would be there. I was afraid that when I entered, the powerful and majestic, stern, and sometimes angry authority of the universe might see me, and for reasons wholly his own and beyond all comprehension bring me to my end. I approached with dread, and was glad when my parents wisely sat in the last row of the church balcony. I did not doubt that God could see me from his vantage point on the stage, but I figured that he would surely, for convenience, select someone sitting a lot closer to him for arbitrary and instant death. My balcony seat afforded much-needed relief, but ironically it also prolonged the mystery. It was hard to see what was actually taking place.